Welcome, friend. I am Vessel26, currently Diamond 2 on the NA server. Really big fan of the game, really enjoy TFT. I'm an intermediate player, so if you're looking for the top challenger players, I'm sure you know where to find them, like Soju, BB, Keen. You can check them out, but this is my first take at reviewing patch notes. I really love analyzing and uh, giving feedback and talking about the fun interactions of the game and theory crafting. So uh, leave me your thoughts on the patch below. Give me some feedback. It's my first attempt at one of these, so just think it'd be fun to throw my thoughts out there and see what the world thinks. So without further ado, let's get into the patch notes here. All right. Let's see. Yep. First off, big summary. Buffs to Adept Mystic Ninja. Mystic didn't feel like it needed the buff, but nice to see. Nerfs to Shade, good. Aphelios. The 4-cost carries, reworked Divine Cultist, which definitely needed it, and added Moonlight and Vanguard. Cool. Well, let's jump into it. Ranked rewards, that's cool. System changes. All right. In summary, they reverted the shop. So the new shop was set up so that if you did not buy a unit in the shop, there was a lower chance or no chance of it showing up in the second shop if you rolled. Incentivizing players that if you didn't want the unit, it wouldn't show up. So whatever you bought and what you wanted, the comp had a higher chance of showing up. So it basically kind of artificially boosted the chance of getting the units you wanted. And I guess according to their statistics, it was too easy to get 4-cost fully 3 stars and fully evolved. So they reverted to the old shop. So for the casual player, it probably doesn't matter that much, but for competitive players, you need to switch your tech and mechanics to, on your roll downs, like buying all the 4-costs in the shop, and buy all the 4-costs so that you can get a higher chance of getting your Riven or your Talon or Jin or Ari. So I personally don't like the change. I think I liked being rewarded. Like, one is just less work. You don't have to like constantly buy units you're looking. So if you're looking for a 3-cost Jinx, you got to buy 3 costs as you roll down. But I do understand why they did it. Like, it makes it, I think, easier, makes the pivoting probably more frequent if you happen to hit a lot of units on the roll down. So I think overall I understand why they did it. I think I like the new shop better than the old shop, but see how it plays out. Either way, you just get used to the way the game plays, right? And a guaranteed chosen by 2/2. That'll feel good, because oftentimes there's games where you end up bleeding, 10, 20 health, and you're around, in the HPs in the 70s or even high 60s after the first 2 stages because you don't get a good chosen to build around right away. All right, see, they nerfed Shade, so the Shade, the unit will disappear after the 3rd attack and the bonus on the 4th attack. So that's nice. It's a nerf to the comp and will hopefully prevent your units from walking back and forth across the board as they attack the Zed and the Zed shades, and then you run away. So I like that. Definitely nerfs the S+ tier that was Shade this last patch. Let's see, Adept buffs Adept at 2, 3, and 4, or 1, 2, and 3. So that makes Adept chosen like actually worth it. Like a 7-second attack speed slow is really high value. I mean, that's like having like 2 or 3 frozen hearts like covering the entire board. So makes Adept chosen actually worth pivoting into on the roll down. The Hunter bonus at 175 at all levels definitely nerfs like going full Hunter, it seems, but buffs it earlier. So you have it at 2 Hunters right away. Thus making a chosen Hunter unit stronger than it was previously. Moonlight, you can now run all 5 and starts with the lowest 2. I feel like that'd be a really fun comp, but really hard to pull off because that's Diana, Lysandra, Aphelios, Silas, and one of them's Chosen, and they're all 3-starred. So that's 9, 18, and then 18, 36, 40, 54 gold that you have to invest into that team comp to make it happen. Yeah, that sounds pretty crazy, but I think it's, players that love Moonlight are going to try to go for Moonlight 5 often. See Mystic got a buff at 2 and 4 Mystic, and 6, but you don't see that a lot. That'll feel nice. Like, you won't really notice the change, but you won't, you'll notice it more, like you're not going to get blown up slightly as quickly. Because I think that it's an indirect, it's a minor nerf to Mage, nerf to Elderwood, Vigar, nerf to Ahri, and they also nerfed Ahri in general. But moving on, Ninja buff. I don't think this makes Ninja playable, but it'll feel nice if you have to run it. Yep, Shade, we already discussed that. They increase the bonus proc amount, which makes sense to nerf how often it procs, but then buff the damage. 8 Vanguard, situational, not as interesting. Cultist. All right, I really like this change. So, in summary, Galio used to just, his base stats was based on if you had 3 cultists, 6 cultists, or 9 cultists on the board. Now, his health and AD scale with your unit's levels. So, if you have 6 cultists out and they're all 2-starred, it'll be a lot stronger than if you had 6 cultists, but only 1 or 2 of your units were 2-starred. So this makes cultists feel better early to mid game, and it's actually a comp you can like run to level 7 and then transition out of. Whereas before you'd only run this early, but then they nerfed Galio and his base stats in the B side, so having getting a cultist during the PvE round wasn't a guaranteed win streak all the way through. So this will feel good. It'll make the class feel better, and I think it's a good evolution, where we started from mech in set 3 to cultist now. That'll feel good. Divine got a rework. So now 6 attacks are below 50 health. They remove crowd control and ascend for a set amount of time and deal bonus damage. So this makes Divine early really strong and makes a Divine chosen unit like a Jax or Wukong really worth picking up, in my opinion, to win streak early. Especially if you get 4 Divine, like 7 seconds of increased damage is really huge. Now I assume once the unit ascends, it cannot ascend again, which would be interesting to test, but it makes, I think overall it'll feel better, seeing it break out of crowd control. It'll look good and feel good, but I think overall it's a nerf, since before the unit had the buff and the bonus for the entire round. Like if you're running Bonky Kong, the whole point is that you're going to use all 30 seconds of fighting, right? It's Slugfest. 3-star Wukong, 4 Vanguard, 4 Mystic. The whole point of that board is to fight, to delay damage and fight for the entire, 30 seconds of the fight phase. So this will make the units stronger early. Like before, 2 Divine was 20% bonus true damage. Now it's 50% bonus true damage right away. So it'll feel better early and mid, but I think like level 7 and beyond, when people start getting their comps like fully online, it won't feel as good. But it really comes down to the timing. Like, you have to be under crowd control and falling below 50 health, and then like your Jax breaks out and starts, bonking everything, goes into Counter-Strike. So feels nice, gives you some counterplay. So interesting to see how the top players, work around this. Fortune, overall, it's a nerf. They lower the gold value, so you get less gold. When you win with a Fortune buff, and they nerfed the 6-tier Fortune. 6 Fortune wasn't really run that often, and if it was run, it was just for streaking and to get the money. So I like they lowered the 5 cost. I think it just I mean, you still have to transition well and be flexible to go from Fortune into a different comp, based on what Fortune drops and what you get in your shop. So I think this is it's a minor change. Like if you're still going to run Fortune at 3 and 6, it's not going to feel too different. Champions. Let's see. They nerfed oh, my bad. They nerfed the top end of Diana. They buffed Elise, and they buffed nearly need that buff. That's nice. But just quality of life overall. Aphelios, his turrets will stop firing when he is disabled. That is huge. That makes Moonlight, Aphelios, and the Aphelios 4-star running GA on him and Quicksilver not the best in slot anymore. So interested to see what becomes the best item for him. Like, I know Shiv got a buff, so maybe that's the best item for him, but I think overall this makes Aphelios, not as strong as he used to, on top of the fact that he got a nerf to his starting mana in the B side. Let's see, they buffed 3-star Jarvan, doesn't really matter much. Nerfed Jax, casting second and third time. That'll feel nice, not getting destroyed by a Jax right away. And I think it feels balanced knowing that they buffed Divine early. The Divine buff early is stronger than it was before. Teemo buff, it'll feel good. Buff to sharpshooters. See, Kennen, 3-star. Still not a unit that's run very often. Veigar, nerfed Veigar. Good, and I won't have 7 Veigar Eldward players in my lobby, and I'm the one, going enlightened. Tier 4, so you nerfed Ari's health, nerfed her the 2-cost damage, just a little bit. I still think like GA, double Jewel Gauntlet, or Jewel Gauntlet IE Ari is still going to blow up your team if you hit it early, but it definitely nerfs the top end of the comp, the 3-star version of the comp. See, Jin 4-shot, so you didn't just change the 3-star version, 3-star Riven, 3-star Talon. I think with the shop changes and this, it'll be harder. In theory, it should be harder to get a 4-cost fully upgraded with the shop changes, and now this, it makes getting it less of a guaranteed win, I guess. But overall, those units are still gonna win games. So maybe just nice quality of life changes, but I think if it's a 3-star Talon, it's still gonna blow up your entire board if it has IE and other BF items. Tier 5, 3-star Azir, meh. Nerfed 1-star Kayn. Really nerfed a Shadow Form too. So that's nice. Kayn was an S tier, the best 5-cost unit that you could get on level 7 and just throw in on your board and put items on, and it would just delete backlines. So this is nice. It forces you to get it 2-starred and makes it less of a guaranteed plug and play character. Lily Asleep, nerf the 1-cost, buff the 2-cost for half second. That's pretty big. It makes Dusk really good. It makes Lily a much more high priority unit. Zillion Rewind from 2 to 3 targets. That's really nice. That'll feel good. Less health, but having 3 targets, resurrecting is really huge. And makes Zillion now actually worth 2-costing it, and maybe you'll have a question of running. Do I run a Zillion or run before you could question running a 1-star Zillion or Kayn? I always put the Kayn in, but now it's probably worth running the Zillion in certain situations for the revive effect and getting a 3-star. Item changes. Chalice Power buff, Gargoyle buff, Locket. That's a huge buff. 100 right away, negate 250 at level 2, 225 and 300. So that's a really nice item. Definitely it's situational already, but makes running this with assassins or a Moonlight stack composition really worth doing. Luden's Echo now counters this bonus damage to shield and crowd control. That's nice. It gives you what'll feel like playability against teams that run a lot of mystics Janna and healing units, Janna, Thresh, and units that are crowd controlled. So it'll feel good. It'll do a lot of more damage. I mean, you could even run this on like Aatrox if you wanted to, since he pulls units and then slams them, so he'll do bonus damage right away. Quicksilver, nerf for 2 seconds. I think casual players might not notice this, but I know there's definitely times when my character, like the second Sejuani ult, doesn't stick to a unit that's Quicksilvered because we're still in the first 12 seconds. So I think it'll feel nice and make Quicksilver, I mean, still like probably the #1 carry item compared to TC, but it'll give a little bit of outplayability position, right? Shiv damage, lower but a huge bonus, so. And fix the bug on Shiv. I think that's a really nice buff. Makes Shiv actually a playable item and worth looking at when it comes to items that build out a recurve bow. I can see this being the item you put on Aphelios now, along with Rageblade, and have it constantly proccing. You could possibly run this on Fortune or on Sharpshooter units, and maybe Jinx if you had to. Interesting to see how players run it, because Shiv in prior sets, when Shiv is a strong item, like the game's really hard to play because you have units just constantly proccing Shiv the entire time. So I think this is, even though they nerfed like Hunter on the top end, this kind of is then another buff to Hunters, like takes power from the class and puts it in the item. And so like if you're running Hunters, you probably are going to run Shiv now, like because I assume it'll do additional damage along with like the Hunter proc, because I think that counts as an auto attack, and along with the Sharpshooter procs, because they count as auto attack. So I think it's a buff to Hunter and Sharpshooter, which was a kind of in the B tier when it came to comps you wanted to run. Zeke's Herald, that's a bonus. That's usually good for assassins. And ZZ Rot is a guaranteed taunt now, which is really strong. Like that'll be good on like set to taunt units into your set and then give them a better chance of slamming into your enemy's backline. And ZZ Rot good on Moonlight units like Moonlight, Silas to be your tank for Aphelios. So overall, these item changes to me, like they provide more player skill expression and like to counter your team, counter your opponents. Like you can run a Ludens if someone has, like running a Vanguard with Thresh and Janna, or all right, my Sejuani is going to CC thing, so I need my Ludens to proc, on like a Kayn after the CC goes off. I mean, or like you stick Ludens on Cassio, and it would automatically proc the Ludens after she casts her ult. So I think it makes, and then Locket buffs, both of them allow just good skill expression for players, which is cool to see. Makes items feel good versus slamming, where everyone's slamming the same items for carries and tanks. So has a little more playability and makes creating items in the back half of the game, once you've already got, 3, 4, 5 items, like you can kind of, with whatever's left over and you're not getting, best in slot for your character, you can maybe slam a Shiv on an Ashe or a Luden's Echo on a Mage, ZZ Rot on a tank to, like, prevent units from jumping on your carries, getting them right away, and, lets you impact the board state, which as a player, I like having more variability in how I can impact the board state. Bug fixes, Pike hits units in front of him, so he can hit corner units. Feels good that he can hit the back line. The Chosen Change came on cast uselessly, set interaction, and Fortune loot table. And nothing else. So, my thoughts overall, let me scroll back up here to the picture. All right, I'm going to zoom in. All right. Overall, I like the change as a player. It nerfs the S+ tier that was Shade Spirit. Nerfs Aphelios 4, which I feel like they addressed pretty well in the B-side patch, but they definitely made it like no longer like an A or B tier comp with the nerfs to turrets no longer shooting when Aphelios is CC'd or dead. So what the best in slot for Philios is now, I don't know, but you probably won't see that unit played a lot. Unless one really wants to go for the 5 Moonlight, which is like, very situational. Uh, nerfs to the fully upgraded 4-cost units, I don't think you're going to notice a difference. I think, if someone gets the 3-star Ari, Jin, Riven, Talon, I mean, they deserve to get top 4, top 2 for sure. But maybe makes the guaranteed first place, not as secure as it once was. Nerfs Quicksilver feels nice since 12 seconds was, definitely over a third of combat. The Kane nerf is nice, so it's not an automatic, you get this at 7, slam the unit, plug and play unit, and forces you to actually get it upgraded 2-star, which feels nice because I definitely know there's times I skipped Lee Sins and Yones in my shop because it's like, well, it's not a Kane, and it's, those units aren't going to pop off like Kane does. Buffs to Adept, Mystic, Ninja, they all definitely need it. Mystic probably didn't need it, but I mean, it's 5 magic, so it'll feel better early, and your units won't, die as quickly to things, but overall, I think it's just like a minor tweak. The Ninja buff for 4 units, it's cool, but I just don't see that comp being played a lot anyway. Team of Italy buffs makes them more viable, like early game to throw on your board. For sure, the Nidalee. Maybe the Javelin will actually kill things on the first hit. And kind of a buff to sharpshooters, but, nothing like game breaking in my opinion. Ken 3-star buff. The item buff is nice. I think, like I said before, they're niche items or niche items anyway. So when and where and why you run it, depending on your comp, it could be worth slamming like a locket early. If you got like 4 Vanguard frontline, or you're running Bonky Kong, or you want to run assassins, and you can stick it on like a Moonlight champion that you want to upgrade. Tan is nice, makes it a really like a strong tank item, and might even be worth slamming early, like over Sunfire. But time will tell. The Shiv is nice. It makes it feel good if you get stuck with like a bow and a tier. Like it's worth putting on, hunters and sharpshooters. The Moonlight buff, that's like, it's really neat. I think I did the math. It's like, I think it takes 54 gold to upgrade all 4 Moonlight units. So like you probably won't see it played in the top end competitive scene, but I think it's a fun thing to do as a casual player. Vanguard, 8 is kind of whatever. Hunter adjustment, better early, not as good late. Fortune adjustment, a little slight nerf on half cost gold, won't notice it. Bust to Lilia 2 and Zillion 2. Overall, I like the patch a lot. They addressed the top end comps, they buffed the lower end, bottom tier comps and items. I think if I had to make predictions on what would be strong, I think you'll see Duelist and Divine. Like that's 50% on true damage for Divine now at 2 and 4 is really strong. So like a Divine Wukong and Divine Jax like should carry, almost guarantee like win streaking for stage 2 and stage 3 because they do twice as much damage. Now they won't be ascended as long and they won't have the buff for the entire round, but it's still really good. So I think this makes Duelist for sure the A tier comp. It makes what was right below Elderwood and Brawler variant, probably A tier comp because now your character won't get blown up by Shade. I think it's also a buff to Veigar Mystic Ari. You don't have to worry about her getting blown up by Shade again. And so I think those would be like your A tier comps. Dusk Duelist A tier. Close seconds would be Sharpshooters, Veigar Mystic Ari, maybe even Bonky Kong. Like I think it's a buff to Bonky Kong. And the whole point of that comp is to, not lose health and win the early mid game and die slower than your opponents in the late game. So I think that's good for them. I think in the B tier, I think this makes Ninja like from like a dead comp to kind of playable. I think the items honestly buff Moonlight Diana a lot. I don't think Moonlight Aphelios is worth it anymore. Unless Shiv just turns out to be like, really broken. I think this makes Enlightened actually like an A tier comp. And they can jump on the back line and Talon can do a lot of work. And the items you get, you can buff, Talon and other units, before they jump with like the buffs to Chalice, buffs to Zeke's. Yeah, it makes a chosen adept like actually worth running. Like 7 seconds for their entire board to be slowed for the attack speed is huge. So I think. Oh, and the buff to Cultist. Wow, that's a huge, makes Cultist playable early to mid game, 100%. So overall, I think it allows more comps to run and not feel as bad. The roll down on 7 will now have more variability since you have to buy units now, but it's worth picking up like, more chosens now at the 3 and 4 cost level. And overall, really good for the game state. Really big buff for the casual player base. Kind of more nerfs to the competitive player base. With the changes to shop, so it's harder to hit fully upgraded 4 costs. But overall, great move for the health of the game. I'm really looking forward to playing this patch. I hope this helped you out. Leave me feedback, criticism, comments below. Start a conversation. I really would like to know people's thoughts, and I really enjoy this game. I like playing it a lot. My goal is to grind to Masters this set, and hopefully get into Grandmasters, which I've never done before. So really exciting times for the game, really in a healthy state, and let's hope the player base keeps growing. Until next time, see you later, Earth.